Hey guys, I'm out here by the backhoe. A guy has a YouTube channel called Everyday Projects. He had a question about the repair that I did on this shuttle valve, so I just thought I'd make a quick video to answer it. His exact question was, what was the original problem that I was having with this? And the problem was that the shuttle itself was leaking. Now you mentioned in the comment that your clutch pedal there is really stiff. Based on what I found in mine, I wouldn't suspect that it's actually that shuttle. Let's see if I can get you in here. Right here. That's where that shuttle is. I would guess that it's either right here. This is an eccentric cam pin, and mine was kind of jacked up. I had to kind of fix it, and I had to make some other parts that go in here. So I would guess that it's something to do with either this eccentric pin right here, and this, as you turn this, it actually has a nut on the back side of it, and so you can adjust the position of your clutch just by turning this screw. It will move this back and forth basically. And if it's not that, I would guess that it's probably this pin up here. Probably not actually the shuttle itself. That being said, I haven't actually looked at yours, so I don't really know. I'm just kind of guessing. But it's a real pain to get to that. So I would check those other things first and see if you can fix that stiffness somewhere else without having to take that whole hydraulic block apart. Because it's a pain to get to. Although, did watch your video. The way yours is all opened up, looks like it wouldn't be that bad to get to it at the stage that you're in now. So I would definitely recommend fixing that beforehand if you're going to. I shoved mine just kind of in the trees here, out of the way from where they're digging the pond, so forgive the sticks and crap. In his video, let me turn this around. Alright, in his video on Everyday Projects, he has his hydraulic pumps taken off, the radiators taken off, and transmission cooler or filter, if he has one. I assume that he's got one for it. If you don't, I don't know, they didn't all ship with them. That filter, by the way, is the same as the hydraulic filter that goes in that canister there. I know my case dealership could not find that filter, and it's because it's just the exact same filter element as that one. Anyway, and they weren't all shipped with these. So this is the T. If you guys go watch the video on his channel about his case 580CK, this isn't a 580B, it's a 580CK. It's a little bit newer than mine actually. His has glass cab and everything. But this is the T that he was looking at on his, and he had mentioned how close it was on his video to the radiator, and he's absolutely right. So if you guys remember, whenever I went to replace this hydraulic pump, I was wanting to just take that off, and I couldn't get it off because it's so close to the radiator. So one thing that he had talked about, and I would recommend doing this, is replacing this straight connection with a 90 that comes out this way. And you don't need to go very far, but then also keep in mind that this fitting, it's one of these types that has the nut here with the O-ring underneath of it, so you can turn that however you want. So if you were to 90 this out, or even 45 it out, and then back over here somewhere, you might have to modify the T a little bit, or make up a different one, or have a different one made. You could get that so that it comes right here in front of your discharge line for your hydraulic pump, and kind of get that away, and it would make it a lot easier to get this thing apart, I think. So just kind of a thought there. Based on having to work with this, I would say that it would be a smart idea to try and modify that design somehow and bring it out to where it's not literally touching the radiator. And that was the problem I had. It's literally touching the front of the radiator. So it would be pretty much impossible, I decided, to get that T off of there without cutting both of those lines. And I did, if you guys remember, cut this one, and I had to replace it. So just a thought there. Another thing that you mentioned on your video is the power steering pump right here, and apparently yours was rusted out, and you fixed the reservoir. So now I've not had to work on this one, but I did have to replace the one on my Ford 3600. There's a video about that. But when I was reading about replacing that one on some Ford forums and stuff like that, some old tractor forums, they mentioned that this style of pump doesn't really have any kind of a wear ring in it, and they're super sensitive to low oil levels and to wear or contaminated oil. And so if that one was rusted out with all those leaves and stuff in it, it's probably had a bunch of water, probably some other crap in there. I don't know if it was ever ran that way. Again, I've not actually looked at your machine, but you might just be ready for that. You may end up having to replace that whole power steering pump. So keep that in mind. And if your power steering's not working, on that Ford, I put a gauge on it and it was making around 700 psi. I think actually more, because the setup I had was leaking pretty bad, and the power steering still did not work at all. So after I replaced it, it was making, if I remember right, I think it was around 1800 psi. The power steering works great. So it does require full pressure for that system to work correctly. So just a note, I just thought I'd point that out. I don't know if that's the same kind of situation on this one versus that Ford tractor, but for all intents and purposes, I would assume that it's probably a pretty similar system. So just keep that in mind. If you go to put everything back together and your power steering's not working, but it is making pressure, it's probably just not making enough. It needs to be making around 2,000. So anyway, hope that helps. And looks like you got your hand full on that one. His tractor, if you guys go watch his videos, his is actually in a little bit worse shape than mine. It's a little bit newer model, but he's doing a lot more detailed rebuild on it than I've had to do on this one. This one was basically just hydraulic cylinders. Engine was running just fine. Looks like the engine is not seized up, but it's, from what I can tell at this point, unknown whether or not it will run or not. And another thing, I was going to point this out. If that boot is leaking on the gear shift, and I didn't have this problem on mine, but I did have a problem with having a bunch of water in the hydraulic system. And I've noticed that even though it was still full of hydraulic oil, there was so much water in the hydraulic fluid that the insides of these cylinders and some of the glands, this part and the pistons, had quite a bit of rust on them. And in a couple of cases, it was back here. It was, I believe, it was that one, that swing cylinder. It had so much rust on the gland that I actually couldn't get it back together until I stuck it in a lathe and machined it. So with that in mind, that hydraulic fluid is the same hydraulic fluid that the front of the transmission here runs. And so the shuttle, it just runs universal tractor fluid, same as hydraulic fluid. So if that's had a bunch of water in it, it is possible that your shuttle or something in this valve block is corroded and rusted up, and that may be causing your shuttle valve to stick. So that may be your stiffness problem. Hypothetical, of course, I don't know. Again, never seen your machine. One thing to note, if you do take this valve block off, these screws, there's like 3 or 4 different sizes of them, and it is particular, it matters which hole that they all go in. They will only work kind of one way. So do yourself a favor, I did not do this, but mark where the screws go, which hole they come out of. It'll just save you some headache when you go to put it all back together. So alrighty, yeah, hey man, keep it up. Looks like you're doing a good job on that old case. I love seeing these old machines get saved and put back to use. So pretty cool project. So on mine, for the record, the next thing to rebuild, and I've got the kits on hand, just haven't had the time to do it yet, is power steering cylinders. So shouldn't be too bad of a project, and of course there'll be a video when I do it. And what is this? That's just water. Okay, I thought I had an oil leak collected right there. It's just rainwater though. I've had about 4 inches of rain out here, so looks like I got rats moving back in. It's not cool. Alrighty. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. And like I said, Everyday Projects. Hope this helps. So, guys, jump over there. Check out his channel. If you're interested in these old tractors, looks like he's got a pretty good project going, like I said. So, check him out, and you'll be able to kind of see the things on his tractor that I was pointing out on mine. And, hey, man, if you run into any more weird questions, feel free to ask. I'd be happy to weigh in. I probably don't know, but 2 heads are better than one, right? Anyway, you guys have a good one. See you guys next time.